Ho, 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 and Merry STEM Christmas. Today we have three elves who are interested in becoming Chief STEM Elf. So today we have Kat, who is a chemical engineer.
Hi.
We have Jed, who is a product designer.
Hi everyone, Merry Christmas.
And we have Petya, who is a QHSE manager in food manufacturing.
Morning, everyone. How are you?
So today we're going to go through a few interview questions to figure out who would be the best Chief STEM Elf out of the three of you. Let's start with Jed. What is your favourite STEM subject and why?
So my favorite STEM subject is product design because that's what I do. The reason I really love that is because it brings together lots of different STEM subjects. So you've got a little bit of engineering, you've got a little bit of construction, you've got a bit of maths, you've got a bit of science and technology, a bit of material science, and it kind of brings it all together into one great subject. So that's my favorite.
That's fantastic. And Petya, what is your favourite STEM subject and why?
I would say probably my favorite STEM subject is engineering. I know it's not necessarily part of what I do, but when you think about it, engineering principles of problem solving do apply daily in my sphere of work. And I think these are great for making sure that we have the right safety measures, we have the right processes, we're efficient, and we keep everybody safe and happy.
That's great. And Catherine, what is your favourite STEM subject and why?
I think my favorite STEM subject would have to be engineering. So I'm an engineer, and it means that you can incorporate all the fun bits of all the other STEM subjects. So there's a little bit of design, there's some math, there's some physics, there's some chemistry, and it's putting all those things together and making them really practical in the real world to show how we can turn things from all their separate parts into something really cool, like snack foods, which is where I'm an engineer.
That's great. Moving on to the next question. Catherine, can you tell us about a time when you use your STEM skills to solve a problem in the workshop?
Oh, it's really important that my STEM skills come in the elf workshop because everyone is making all these toys, everyone is busy, everyone is getting ready. And we need to make sure that we're making a healthy and nutritious snack that everyone can have to keep their energy levels up and to keep them busy. So, yeah, it's really important that we look at what is important in terms of nutrition, what people will enjoy, how portable things are that they can carry it with them on their sleigh, and put these all together to make sure that we can solve the problem of designing a really cool snack for Santa and the elves.
That's great. And Petya, can you tell us about a time when you use your STEM skills to solve a problem in the workshop?
Absolutely. We might cover here a bit of what Catherine said already, but for example, dealing with chocolate and chocolate sweets and treats, there is a science behind it. Make sure you have the nice and glossy, shiny chocolate. You need to get the right temperature, you need to get the right conditions, you need to apply it there, and then you get that perfect product that makes everybody happy. So that kind of comes in regularly. But once you get that right, I think the rest is fine.
Fantastic. What about you, Jed? Can you tell us about a time you use your STEM skills to solve a problem in the workshop?
Yeah, so in the workshop we're always trying to solve problems really because for me as a designer, we've got to solve the problem to make the product. So we'll use STEM in things like this. So you can see here on this toy that we made, the belly needs to come out. And in order to make that go in and be able to clip back in, we have to use a lot of like engineering, we have to use some 3D design skills, we have to use maths to make sure that this tolerance is right. So we have to do a lot of measuring, a lot of calculations, all just to make sure that little things like that fit and everything else on the product.
That's great. Moving on to our next question. We'll start with Jed because I feel like this will really, resonate with you actually. What new technology or invention would you like to introduce to the workshop?
So I would like to bring in 3D printing to the workshop because this is a really great way of making toys and testing them. So with a 3D printer, we can design whatever new toy we want. We can design it right here on our computers, and then within a couple of hours, we can 3D print a new prototype of that, and we can test how fun it is, how easy it is to use, is it the right shape, is it the right size, does it look really cool and fun? And we can do all of that with a 3D printer before we have to take the long time of actually building all the toys in the workshop.
That's great. Petya, what new technology or invention would you like to introduce to the workshop?
Unlimited hot chocolate machine. I think hot chocolate for everybody to keep you happy and warm and keep going. Yeah, so if it can be, as automated as possible, you think about it and it just delivers a cup of hot chocolate, I think that would be fantastic.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Catherine, what new technology or invention would you like to introduce to the workshop?
I think next to Jed's 3D printer, I'd love to see a food 3D printer. So food 3D printing is starting to become a thing where people can, in the same way as product design, draw, design, specify food shapes and sizes, and actually print them from either fats or carbohydrates or different things to make snacks that are unique, individual to people, but also really cool shapes and structures that you might not be able to get through typical food production methods. So having that next to a toy 3D printer sounds like an excellent combination of new technologies.
That's great. Catherine, how do you plan to ensure that all the toys are safe and fun for children of all ages?
That's a good question. Something that's really important is I do. Working in means that we need to make sure everything that goes out to people, that's the product, people that are selling the product, is safe, is legal, but is also what the consumers want. So we use something called insights to do studies to understand exactly what the consumers want, what their needs are, and how we can design things perfectly for them. And then we use our regulatory assessment skills to understand that things are safe and legal. So what we do with the food, we can also apply to the toys to make sure that we're going through the right processes. So it is something really important that comes along with engineering.
Yeah, how do you plan to ensure all the toys are safe and fun for children of all ages?
I think, again, overlap with Catherine there. Food manufacturing, I guess, it's very similar. But what else we can think about is having quality assurance or quality control officers, and also making sure we have that system in place. So we have the testing prior production, during production, and before leaving. Make sure we have that system that checks all about the sharp edges and durability, but also by having actually trials and getting the elves to play with the toys, have some fun and make sure they're safe before they go out. So I think combination of both.
That's great. Jed, how do you plan to ensure all the toys are safe and fun for all the children?
Yeah, so that's actually part of my job as a product designer, is to make sure the stuff I design is safe. So because I can design it on my computer on CAD, I can check a lot of those things first. So if a size maybe is going to be too small and could be like a finger trap for a child, I can make sure that we can draw that and make that slightly bigger so it's not going to be a hazard. And then linking it back to the 3D printer that I was talking about earlier, that's another great way of making sure things are safe, because we can print one and we can test it there. So we can check that everything's safe before we actually go out and make it. And then the last thing that we probably do is make sure that when we package up the toy at the end of the production, we put it in a box that tells you like how safe it is. So, for example, some of the packaging here, we make sure to put all the warnings on. So if it's only for children at a certain age, it'll say that on the box. And as a designer, we have to design that as well as the toy.
That's great. Petya, what is your favorite part of the toy making process? And do you have a favorite toy?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I mean, I like the whole process, but I think the testing phase must be the best because you can see all different parts coming together, and you can see how the efforts are actually materializing in a toy. So I think that probably would be my most favorite phase. In terms of favorite toy, I don't really have a favorite. I have a lot of toys that I love all the time, but not a favorite. I just like playing with toys. I'm a big kid, so
Do you have a
that's one
favorite
answer.
Christmas food? Is
Oh
that a better
yes,
question?
yes, yeah. So I love a gingerbread man cookie or a gingerbread house. These two do it for me.
That's great. Catherine, what is your favorite part of the toy making process? And do you have a favorite Christmas food or toy?
I think my favorite part of the process is the very first part, the understanding what people want. So before we can go and design or make anything, we go out and we talk to loads of children and we say, what do you want? Why do you want it? And we use those insights to build an idea of the different types of children and the different types of toys that they might like. And that's a really interesting part to be involved with because it helps us as we go through the rest of the process to make sure that the toys that we're making are the most suitable and the most safe and the most exciting for the children that will be playing with them. I think my favorite toy has to be Lego because there's so much you can do with it. And I think my favorite Christmas food is definitely a pigs in blankets.
That's great. Jed, what is your favorite part of the toy making process? And do you have a favorite toy or Christmas food?
Yeah, so my favorite part of the toy making process is the concept design bit, because that's when you get to be really, really creative. I love to sketch out my ideas, just even using a pen and paper. Sometimes we do it digitally, but it's a great way of exploring loads of ideas, picking out all the good bits, picking out the bad bits. And with each new sketch you do and each new concept design you do, you can improve it bit by bit until you end up with a design of a new toy that you're really, really happy with. One of my favorite toys, I have lots of favorite toys, but one of my favorites is this one because it's one that I got to make myself. And so I'm really proud of that. And it's one of my favorites because I got to do loads of concept sketches for it. And I'm really happy with how it turned out looking. And it's a really fun toy to use. In terms of Christmas food, my favorite is a Christmas Day sandwich. So after I've filled up on Christmas dinner, all the leftovers are going in a sandwich, kind of too big to fit in your face.
It's great. What does your toy do?
So this toy is actually to help children learn how to program. So it's actually to help encourage children to learn more STEM stuff. So you can do lots of things. There's lots of different sensors on it. There's a pen holder, so you can draw different shapes. So it might be about learning what angles do you need to program in to draw a triangle that joins up at the end. And it might be, can we turn this robot into a noise detector so that if I clap, then the lights on the side will turn orange or something like that. So you can do loads of fun things with it. It comes with a free app. She's got a little face that lights up when you turn her on, and all the sides light up different colors. Yeah, and I just really like this one.
Well, that's great. So how do you stay organized and manage your time effectively, especially during the busy holiday season, Jed?
So I use an online system. It's called Miro. The reason I use that is because it's very visual, it's bright and colorful. So myself and all the other designers in the workshop can see all of the different toys that we've got to design. We can see whether they're big projects or just small projects, whether they're really complicated toys, like kind of slightly easier toys. And we can see how many are up next, how many we're working on, and how many are ready to go out into production in the workshop. So that's how we kind of manage our toy designs as designers here.
That's great. Catherine, how do you stay organized and manage your time effectively, especially during this busy holiday season?
I think it's really important to make sure that everything is written down, everything is organized. I use a lot of meetings with the different teams because a lot of what we do as a STEM Elves means we can't do these things on our own. Everything is part of a larger team. We'll have elves in the workshop, elves on the sleigh, elves looking at what they might be making for toys next year, and we need to bring all those together. So we use a lot of organizational systems similar to Jed. We use a lot of meetings and just make sure that everybody really understands what's happening in all the projects that are going on. So communication is one of the ways that we really make sure that we all stay organized.
Great. Petya, how do you stay organized and manage your time effectively during this busy holiday season?
I think a big thing for us in our workshop is to make sure that we plan ahead as far as possible. So we give ourselves smart actions to make sure we can measure them and we can action them. And then we have maybe a bit more technical terms like Gantt charts and to-do lists to make sure we have visuals of where we are at each step of the process and where do we need to get to complete it. So it's a bit of mixture. We have our daily to-do, but we also have our long-term plans, and we make sure that we follow these time frames to achieve the best results.
That's great. What is your favorite STEM project that you've worked on, and what did you learn from it?
That's a very good question. So one thing we've been working on recently, and I think is part of the ELF teams as well, is sustainability and net zero strategies for the workshop. So what we're focusing on is making sure that the materials we use, the products we produce are sustainable, and we work with suppliers who are also sustainable and eco-friendly for the nature. I think we really need to focus on making sure that we keep the environment safe. So we have our future is there for us and for our kids, and the elves need to help with that as well in order to have continuity. So sustainability, I guess, is my favorite project.
Oh, thank you. So Catherine, what is your favorite STEM project that you've worked on, and what did you learn from it?
I think a lot of my favorite STEM projects are things where I actually get to see what I've made go into supermarkets or stockings or, you know, the shelves and the homes of people, because it's really important that as an engineer working in designing food, that we get involved from the start of design right through how we make it, right through to what it's packaged in, and then we actually get to see it put on a shelf or in a stocking at the end. And for me, knowing that something that I've worked on for 12 months, getting it ready for the next year is brilliant. So I really enjoy those things where I can then walk into a shop or someone's home or the elf workshop and say, hey, I actually had a hand in making this product right from the design at the start. And I think that's some of the best STEM projects I've worked on.
Fantastic. And Jed, what is your favourite STEM project that you've worked on, and what did you learn from it?
I'm going to have to take you on a little walk around the factory just to find an example of this. But my favorite was actually this toy frog here. And this was a really fun one because this frog had to be waterproof. So we had to do a lot of engineering to make sure that everywhere where the batteries go and the speakers, because this frog talks as well. So all of that had to be waterproof. So it meant a lot of really clever engineering, and I'd never done anything made a waterproof toy before. So I learned a lot about designing and engineering for waterproof, and a lot about how tricky it is to design a frog. So yes, that was my favorite.
That's great. So Catherine, how do you think STEM skills can help children in their everyday lives?
I think STEM is really important. I think people don't realize how often they're using things, just like simple maths when they're out shopping, when they're buying their Christmas presents, or when they're baking a Christmas pudding and they're measuring out different ingredients, they're weighing things, making sure they get the ratios right. And I think just understanding how to put your Christmas tree up, that you put it up with the heavy bit at the bottom and the small bit at the top so it doesn't fall over. And I think all of those things that we do in our day-to-day life, where we're looking at numbers and how things work and just how things are, is all STEM. So I think the more people understand from STEM subjects, the more they can apply that to real life. And it doesn't have to be sitting in a room with a calculator doing specific math sums. It's something that happens every day. STEM is what makes the world work. So understanding STEM just helps everybody in their day-to-day.
That's great. Thank you, Catherine. Petya, how do you think STEM skills can help children in their everyday lives?
Well, I think STEM helps think critically and problem solve and also be creative. So it doesn't matter if you're building up a Lego or solving a puzzle or you're, programming a toy. It's all STEM skills that help you then deal with challenges in the real world and life every day. So I guess STEM is in everything we do, as Catherine said, and it's good to realize that you actually use it without even thinking about it.
That's great. Jed, how do you think STEM skills can help children in their everyday lives?
I think same as everyone said, you can use it in all sorts of things. So things like maths, you want to use because if you're saving up your money to buy your favorite toy, you have to learn about maths and counting and everything for that. Physics, just in how the world works around you, and even things like planning and engineering and looking about how things fit in different spaces. That can be really great for if you ever buy a house and you want to figure out what sofa fits here. How do I measure up that space and figure out where can I put my TV and where can I put my sofa, and where am I going to fit all my toys in this room? So you can use STEM in all sorts of things in everyday life.
That's great. Petya, what advice would you give to young students who are interested in pursuing a career in STEM?
I would say stay curious and don't be afraid to ask questions. STEM is all about learning, experimenting, and finding creative solutions. So even mistakes, can be taken as a positive because that's going to be a learning. Think out of the box. Sometimes STEM is perceived to be in the job title, whether you're an engineer or scientist, but that's not necessarily always the case. Back to the previous question, STEM is in everything we do, and sometimes you'd find STEM in different careers you never thought you'd do. So just be open-minded.
That's great. Jed, what advice would you give to young students who are interested in pursuing a STEM career?
I would say make sure to explore what's out there and don't be afraid to ask questions about different jobs and different STEM subjects that are out in the world. Because when I was growing up, I didn't know that I could be a product designer. I didn't know that was something that I could go and do. And I ended up finding it and thought this is a really great, fun STEM subject that brings in loads of different things that I like creativity, engineering, maths, and even bits of art as well, all into one thing. And you only find those things by getting out there and exploring and seeing what's out in the world.
Catherine, what advice would you give to young students who are interested in pursuing a career in STEM?
I think, as some of the others have said, it's really important to see what's out there. But I think one of the things that sticks with me is thinking that actually the jobs that you do in STEM in 10, 15 years might not currently exist. There's so much cool stuff happening that the jobs that you will be doing in the future in these STEM subjects, some of them haven't even been thought of yet. And you'll be the people that start to help think and shape these jobs. So for me, I would say if you enjoy STEM, stick with it. Just because friends around you have decided maybe they don't want to do certain things, if you love it, stick with it, because there's going to be a job for you or a career for you that doesn't even exist yet, that people don't even know about. So there's so much good stuff that's coming. And just because you go into something doesn't mean you have to stick with it. You get skills that you can move into different things. I went into chemical engineering, not realizing that now I would be designing and making some of the favorite snacks that I had when I was a kid. So I think, yes, stick with it and keep your eyes open to what's out there.
That's great. Now, here is the final chance for you to plead your case as to why you might be the best Chief STEM elf. So let's start with Catherine. If you were the Chief STEM elf, what would be your first priority?
I think my first priority of Chief STEM Elf would just to be make sure that we've got all the snacks ready to go. There is a lot of work to be done. There's stockings to be stuffed. There's sleighs to be loaded. There is a lot of travel to be done. And none of that can be done without making sure that we've got the best snacks to keep people happy, to full, healthy, all around the trip around the world.
That's great. Jed, if you were the Chief STEM elf, what would be your first priority?
My first priority would be to make sure that everyone in the workshop is having a fun time. We've got a lot of toys to make for Santa. That's going to be busy and it's going to be maybe stressful, but it should still be fun. What we're doing is really great, and I think everyone should be having a good time while they're doing it.
And finally, Petya, if you were the Chief STEM elf, what would be your first priority?
Well, I think everybody who's been nominated had some great ideas. So definitely we need to make sure we're fit and we need to make sure we're happy and have fun time. But I think my priority would also be safety and efficiency. While we're having the fun, we need to make sure we keep safety as a priority and produce safe toys or make safe toys, make sure everybody's safe in the process, and we have these time scales to meet. So therefore, get the most efficient process to get everything out on time and then have a lovely Christmas Eve and Christmas night.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, STEM Elves, for talking to us. And hopefully, if you're watching, you'll go to the link and you'll go and vote for who you think is the best Chief STEM elf. Thank you so much, Elf Jed, Petya, and Catherine. And Merry Christmas. Bye.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas. Bye.